Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of our podcast, Just Gay Stuff. My name is Jess.
And I'm Lauren.
And we've decided to do this podcast because we looked at the amount of gay content coming out of Brisbane where we live.
Yes.
And there isn't a lot.
No.
And it's to provide like just a fun atmosphere, to have friends.
I think like that safe haven really with your besties hanging out and chatting.
Yeah, we're hoping to provide that for you,
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. And I've wanted to do this for such a long time because COVID was such a big thing and I've loved podcasts since COVID. Mostly because when the world stopped, I'm in entertainment. My job went first.
Your world essentially stopped.
My world stopped. And we were at home. Everyone was at home for such a long time. And everyone else's jobs went back and mine didn't. And then you felt alone. When I started listening to podcasts, I started listening to true crime because who doesn't who doesn't love a true crime podcast? But it was less about the stories they were telling and more just having voices to kind of keep you company. And so I guess my wanting to do this podcast is to provide that for other people.
I think I'm very similar in that way. I found I was very isolated when it came to COVID and with my whole finding out like coming out stories and everything, which we will get into. You sort of find like, oh, I wish I had that support. I wish I had that safe haven, that safe space that hopefully you and I can provide for the community out there.
So we are gay.
Yes.
And in a relationship.
Yes.
And we haven't known each other that long.
No.
So we're delving into this experience together. And I guess one of the big things that we can provide from this podcast and to our listeners is everyone getting to know us and us getting to know each other in real time.
Literally getting to know each other even more so in real time.
Which is a bit crazy.
It is a little bit.
Like really crazy.
Why not?
It's podcast at first sight.
Yeah, love it. Should have named it that.
Should have named it that. Oh, damn. No, we've done a lot of branding. Do we want to tell like
how we met?
How we met?
Guess.
And
yeah.
then, yeah. Do you want to take the lead on that one?
Sure. We started both in a very odd space. We both had come out of recent relationships. And I know for me personally, I wasn't looking for anything. And I just sort of was scrolling Tinder up and down. You know, you do the usual delete, download, blah, blah, blah. Then just went on, it went okay. Sort of went on. I just was like, I'm just going to be as honest as possible. I know in past relationships I never was. I was very insecure and quite shy. And this time I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I was like, yeah, whatever. And I just put everything down. I was like, this is me. Take it or leave it. Swiped on you. Saw like the most beautiful woman ever.
Lies.
Not lies at all. And was like, there is no way this cool girl would ever go for me. And then eventually we matched and sort of got to know each other a little bit better and worked out we had a mutual friend.
Yeah, we messaged. I remember your profile and I remember I swiped on your profile because you were one of the only profiles that had a picture of you without makeup on.
Or a filter.
And, you know, these days dating is so hard, and coming out of my relationship, it was such a scary thing to think about going back into the dating pool. It was terrifying.
It's intimidating.
I was terrified because how do you know if there's going to be someone else out there for you, especially when you thought the person you were with was the person for you?
Yeah.
So that was really intimidating. And I remember specifically I swiped on you because you didn't have a filter. Or, well, I mean, you did, but
yeah.
one of your photos specifically, there was no filter and there was no makeup.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, A, that is so brave, especially in the world that we live in today, where everyone can be, not everybody, a lot of people can be so obsessed with self-image, and especially with all these trends going around where, you know,
that's media for you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think we've had that programmed into our brains.
Yeah,
so I think
that we're not beautiful enough or we're not pretty enough to put our genuine selves out there.
Yeah.
But I thought that was so almost knew exactly what I was getting, because, you know, I think we've all been there where if it's now or if it was back in the day dating, you've swiped on somebody and you think they look like their picture and then you meet them and they look nothing like their picture. Yeah. And I'm not saying like they were a 60-year-old dude.
Yeah, no, but different.
Just different.
Not what you were expecting.
I still didn't know what to expect when I finally met you.
No, neither.
But at least I had that portrayal of you that didn't involve all this makeup and all these filters that gave me a false representation of who you were.
Yeah. I think we also have such a unique story in the sense of when we first sort of met each other, when we eventuated to going on that first date after, you know, having our mutual friend corroborate that we're both great people and everything.
Yeah.
We both weren't looking for anything, and we were both like, oh yeah, this is just a fun date, whatever. And I know that at the time we were both like, oh, you know, this could just be like a one-time thing, whatever. Like we didn't think anything more would come off of that date initially.
I was very raw coming out of my past relationship because I'd only been out of that for 2 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, signing up to Tinder and other dating apps, not that I used any, I used one other and I can't even remember what it was called, but I knew that I was maybe doing it too soon because I didn't really expect to find anything.
No.
But it was more just having someone to talk to. Regardless of meeting somebody, regardless of going on a date, regardless of finding what we just happened to find with each other, I 100% was only on there looking for people to just have a chat to.
Yeah, to have a chat to.
At the end of the day, you know, it's like having friends that you just say, hey, how was your day?
Yeah, exactly.
After a massive day of work.
It's that comfort feeling, really. And especially, you know, it's an outsider's opinion when, you know, you can't sort of express how you're feeling at the time to your actual friends because they won't get it. They'll just be like, you know, everything's okay sort of thing. And then you get to meet someone. And I think you and I related in that way in terms of friendship to begin with, because we both had similar stories in our past relationships and breakups to be like, oh, okay, this is how we're feeling at the moment. So I think that's also how we connected a little bit.
And I tried to be so honest in my profile, especially when it came to saying that I was fresh out of a relationship. I wasn't looking for anything specifically.
Same.
I just wanted literally to find someone to talk to that might relate to me on a level.
And you were so honest. And I think that's initially what also drew me to your profile, was not only that I think you were attractive in your photos, but especially because, you know, you're my type, but also because of how honest and how rare it was to see, okay, sure, just out of a relationship. And I think because I had a similar mindset to you at the time, I was like, oh, this is great. We will get along because of this reason.
I was really surprised with how forthcoming you were with giving your number out straight away. That was one of the other things. I was like, damn, this girl is really trusting.
Yeah.
Because
Probably too trusting.
But lucky it was me and not a creeper.
Not a serial killer.
Yeah. But then so we started texting, and I think we were texting for...
It wasn't long. I don't think it was too long.
Maybe
before
like 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember you followed me on Instagram, and then you said that we had a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And then when you said that mutual friend, I was like, oh, I know them quite well. And then that friend said, oh yeah, Lauren is a great person. Oh yeah, Jess is a great person.
Yeah, thanks, mutual friend.
And then it was funny because said mutual friend was going to have a party and then said that we should have met anyway.
I guess she was essentially trying to set us up in a way.
Yeah, which is weird.
So weird.
I know we just spoke about this the other day, but I wonder, because that party never ended up happening.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we had never have met when we met,
if that party
would have happened for the universe to like bring us together.
Yeah, I think that was the conversation we had the other day, was quite a lot of things. There's a lot of sliding door moments that we're like, hang on, this happened for us to meet. If we didn't meet when we met, this would have happened for us to meet.
Because I feel that.
So do I. I 100%
feel like
feel that.
We were meant to meet each other.
Yeah.
And because we've often spoken about how much it feels we've known each other for so long.
For a long time.
And we've literally only known
Disclosure,
each other.
it's been 7 months.
Yeah, we've literally only known each other for 7 months. So that's really not a long time, but it feels like 7 years.
Well, to be fair, in the community we're in.
To be fair, gay.
Gay.
Still, I've not felt that kind of
neither.
connection with someone else.
Neither.
Before.
Which is wild.
Mm-hmm. So wild.
So wild.
Super wild. So that's how we met.
Yeah.
And then we got to today. So we've done a lot.
Yeah, we've done a lot in the short of amount of time.
I mean, we haven't moved in together yet.
No, we haven't U-hauled. It's fine. Yeah. Calm down, guys. Although in saying that, I do spend most of my time here anyway. So
would you call it a U-haul if we've started a podcast together though?
Oh,
that's
don't know.
Almost like having a child.
Maybe we should ask the listeners what they think.
Okay, so we've gone over how we met.
Yeah.
And we don't really need to bring it to how we got here today.
No.
But how did you get here to being the gaby that you are?
The gaby.
Yeah.
I'm still considered a gaby.
You
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I think for
Well, I'm only your second gay relationship, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So then yeah,
And you're a gay-bee.
Gavy.
We're still teaching her things, guys.
Yeah, quite innocent over here. I think for me, it's been a very interesting thing. So for like the longest time, I identified as bisexual. I think from like 12 years old, I was always attracted
Were you
to
out
women.
bisexual
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
Like your family knew?
Yeah, my family
Okay.
and everyone knew that I was like attracted to both men and women.
Tell me about that though. Like when did you tell
Um,
them that you were attracted to both?
I think essentially at that 12 or 13, I mean, or probably around 13, which makes more sense now to the bullies that I had at the time. I remember girls coming up to me and calling me a lesbian and all this stuff. Little did I know that they were right.
But when you're 13, you're still figuring stuff out.
Yeah, of course.
Even if you did feel like maybe you were that way inclined.
Yeah.
We'll get into this again, but
This is a different topic.
the word lesbian, we need to have a whole episode on why I hate that word.
Yeah, and queer apparently.
But let me explain quickly. It's just because those words have always had other meanings. It's never just been like, I love the word gay because its meaning has always meant happy before it was a derogatory term, whereas lesbian and queer have been used as derogatory terms for, such a long time, and it's only now that we're really starting to take the power back on that.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I don't have anything to do with my dad, so I didn't have an issue there. My mum's quite an open person anyways. I think she relates to herself as being quite fluid or pansexual or bisexual. So I've been lucky to be quite in an accepting family where I just sort of said, hey, I'm attracted to both men and women. And she was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't care. And it was a non-issue thing. And I just sort of, went from that. And I was like, you know what? I have 2 siblings and a best friend who their posters on their walls were all of dudes. Every time we watched a movie, it was all, oh my God, look at this guy, he's hot, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, he's all right. But if a woman came on the screen, I was like, oh my God. And so, identifying as that, and that was fine. And then I was very insecure and went into the first relationship with a guy who ever gave me attention, just cause. And I was unfortunately with that person for 8 years, and that was a very, very toxic relationship. And then when I came out of that relationship, I said to my sister, I've never explored that attraction to women, that side of me. And I said, I really need to date women to know.
So you identified as bisexual from the age of 13, but you never had...
I never had that experience.
Did you kiss a girl?
Oh, yeah. I kissed girls,
like
but it was like, I was in theatre. Everybody kissed everyone in
Yeah.
You're all fluid in the theatre, really. So I had kissed girls. I knew girls had crushes on me in like year 9 and stuff, but I wasn't ever in my first serious relationship until I was like 20, and that was with a man. And then again, I was with him for like 8 years of my life. And then when I left that toxic relationship, I went, hang on, I need to explore this other side of me, because I never gave my younger self a chance to explore that. Even though I had all the opportunity to, I just was never confident enough to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did, I met with a girl, and I remember my best friend being very like, oh, you got to be careful about like these people and these shark lesbians.
Shark lesbians? What is a shark lesbian?
I don't know, like lesbians who find like gabies or straight girl.
Yeah, I've heard there are people out there, like I don't think they intend to be like predatory or anything like that, but they'll purposely seek someone who's just freshly out to try and...
It's a notch on their belt, essentially,
kind of,
really.
I mean, there's always 2 types of people, right? So I don't think there will be those that are like, hey, I can teach you things and I can show you a whole new world, essentially. And then there are others that, another notch in your belt because it's they might think it's an easy lay because you are so desperate to experience those things with a woman. And that woman is so desperate to just go, oh, I can be that for you.
And I think that's what that was initially. I think because at the time I was so confused, I still just had that bisexual label, and I sort of was, talking to this woman, and I was like, how do I know if it's, more in the gay path or more in I'm bisexual, but maybe I just didn't experience it with the right man, or I just didn't this. And I remember my head being like, I was confused for days. I was like, what is going on?
But also that's what dudes will tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you just haven't found the right man.
Yeah, well, they're dickheads. Yeah, so I was very confused, but I remember talking with her, and I think unfortunately at the time she was coming out of a relationship too, and I think I was that easy target for her to get her fix after the relationship she was in. And she was the first woman I slept with. But then after I slept with her, it was like all these light bulbs went off in my head. I was like, oh, that's what sex is supposed to feel like, and this is what this is supposed to be like. And I just, so many moments, I was like, all this clarity suddenly rushed in, and I was like, right, gay.
So regardless of her potentially being a lesbian shark,
Yeah.
She at least like opened up sexual exploration for you.
Yeah, 100%. She opened up that window of sexual exploration, and I think that was the biggest thing for me. I think I knew I had all those signs previously. I just had never allowed myself to explore that. And once I did, I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense. Everything else works now. It's clear. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then that's me.
That's you.
That's me. Now we're here.
Got you to this moment.
Yeah.
My coming out story is really not amazing. There was nothing bad, but I feel like a really young age, I always knew that I liked girls definitely more than I liked boys.
Yeah.
But then as a kid, you never know if that's because when you're a child, you're not seeking a sexual relationship.
No.
Like never.
No.
You're seeking like friendship and
yeah.
who do you identify more with? Like, oh, I'll hang out with this girl because she also likes Barbie. Do you know, like I liked Barbies growing up. And it's you're just looking for those things that you have in common with people.
Yeah.
And so I always hung out with, I had guy friends, even like as a kid. Some of my best friends growing up as a child were boys.
Yeah.
Not men, that would be weird. They were boys. And then I met my best friend when I was 5. We're still best friends today, which is crazy. That's another thing we have in common. It's crazy. And then I remember there are certain things that I think about now as an adult that I go back and I go, oh, that was kind of a sign. But I remember I used to do bowling from like a really young age. Yeah. And there was a girl that worked at the bowling alley. And I remember always like being so excited to see her. And obviously she was probably a teenager when I was like, I would have been like 4 or 5. Yeah. So she would have been at least a teenager, if not 20. And I remember she was always so nice to me. Like she would pick me up and like it's like I made this friend. And I remember one day saying to her that I wanted to marry her. Yeah. And she was like, no, you'll grow up and you'll marry a boy. And I was like,
no.
Well, I was like, oh, but I want to marry you. I don't understand why you're telling me that. Like, yeah. Which is, I've never really thought about that until
right now. So you kind of knew back at like 5, but then essentially
at 5 you're like, what is gay, what is straight? You don't have those things in your mind at that time. But then growing up, I think the next thing was when I was 12, that band Tattoo.
Yeah,
it was massive.
Love it.
Massive. And I remember thinking like, why do I like get these feelings when I see 2 girls kiss? And especially when that music video for all the things she said went crazy. I remember thinking like, oh, why do I feel these things when I see that? Oh, it makes me feel like so, it's kind of,
Were you flustered?
Yeah, but it was still taboo at that stage, you know, like, oh, women kissing, and it's becoming mainstream, and it's like, ooh, no one knew what to think and no one knew how to feel about it. And I was kind of like, I don't really know why I like it so much, but I really did.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had an obsession with them. And besides, I loved their pop music.
Yeah, their music's great.
Mainstream pop was great.
Yeah.
And then that started to, I guess they kind of, for me, kicked off that mainstream girls kissing girls, because it was on TV hits and Rage and those music videos, and then, you know, MTV Awards, and they kissed at the MTV Awards on stage, and that was the same year.
Was it the Britney and
Britney and Madonna and Christina Aguilera, and I was like, oh, this is becoming a thing. And I was like, why does it make me feel good?
Yeah.
So I was like 12 then. I had kissed a girl since then and I liked it. I Katy Perry'd that shit.
Katy Perry, yeah.
I did. And that was great and whatever. But I still had crushes on boys.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, you do. I think you're trained to essentially.
Society says that you should.
Yeah.
And I did. But I think it was also a case of they never liked me.
Yeah.
And then you go into that rigmarole in yourself and you're like, oh, boys don't like me.
Yeah.
And then we go through that whole rigmarole of I'm so ugly. Boys don't like me.
Yeah.
I remember this one guy I had this really big crush on in grade 7. He liked this other girl in my class that was really good looking. And
Yeah.
like, even I thought she was good looking. She's the same girl I kissed. So I was like,
competition.
So I saw what he saw. So
Yeah.
I get it. But I was just like, why am I ugly? Why doesn't anyone like me? And so that was just a thing. So like, you go through boyfriends and you enter high school and everyone hates you and you hate yourself because it's high school.
Yeah.
And then
Who doesn't in high school, really?
yeah, I had a MySpace.
Oh, what was it?
Who didn't have MySpace?
Yeah.
If you didn't have MySpace,
You're too young.
yeah, or you're too old.
Or too old, yeah.
I had a MySpace and I've been writing music for such a long time that, you put music and lyrics up on your MySpace and you'd have you go in and you edit your MySpace page and you had
your top friends.
top friends and, oh, did I make top 8 this week? The song you wanted on your profile. Don't even remember how I came across this girl or how she came across me. But there was this, if you're a true gay bee or a true gay, back in, what year was this? 2006.
Oof.
I want to say 2006. There was this American show called South of Nowhere. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
Because you're a gay bee.
I am a gay bee.
I need you to watch all of these
Yes,
things.
you need to show me these things. That's right. We'll save it for pod episodes.
And this girl messaged me. There was this character on that show called Ashley Davies.
Yes.
Who was hot as fuck. Like, hot as fuck. And I remember being obsessed. But it was like, at that time, you're kind of more aware about people realizing what you're thinking about or what you like. So you're like, oh, I don't want to be outed, or I don't want to.
Yeah.
And at that time, I don't really think I thought that I was gay, but I knew that I liked girls
You
as
liked
well
girls,
as boys.
yeah.
And so this girl on MySpace messaged me and she's like, you look like Ashley Davies. And I was like, how does she know who Ashley Davies is? I
And
was
thank
like,
you.
how do you know this? And I did not look like Ashley Davies, but that was such a massive compliment. And so my first response was, how do you know who Ashley Davies is? Do you watch South of Nowhere? Oh my God. And so then we started to bond over that and we would talk. And then she also played music.
Oh, wow.
And she was out there doing the thing. We were the same age, but she was out there gigging and she was playing at pubs and stuff. And she'd sent me a couple of her original songs and they were pretty good. And then one of my favorite bands of all time was playing at QPAC in Brisbane. And she was going to go because she also liked them. We just kind of connected over all these things.
Yeah.
So we met for the first time and I didn't see any of the concert because we were just in the park making out.
Yeah. Nice.
And it was kind of at that time, it was I still felt wrong. We weren't allowed to.
Because it was taboo.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to just be who you are and make out with someone in public because PDA is still not for everybody. But I still felt like we had to kind of hide.
Yeah.
And then anyway, we would stay at each other's houses every couple of weekends. And we weren't in a relationship though. We were never in a relationship. And I think that might have come from the fact that both of us were kind of unsure if, we knew we were enjoying what we did.
Yeah.
But we were kind of unsure of if that was what we wanted or...
Yeah.
And then I ended up liking this guy in my music class. And so I dated him and then I graduated. And we still stayed friends. And then I broke up with him. And then things, I don't know.
Yeah.
From there, I dated other guys. And I remember when I was with this person I met on MySpace, that's when I told my mom, I think I really like her.
Did your mum react in a certain way or not really?
Nah, she was kind of just whatever.
Yeah. Same.
But I think, you hype yourself up to be oh my God, it's going to be such a big deal.
Yeah.
And I never knew when to tell her oh, I think, I like girls. But then when I did, she was kind of whatever.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I had my first girlfriend, that's when I said to my mom, I am with this person and I really like her and we're going to be together. My mom was like, okay.
Yeah.
She just learnt who I was from there.
Yeah.
And there was never any question after that.
I think that's where, you and I can both be quite grateful. There's some people out there whose families aren't as accepting as ours.
I had friends be kicked out for coming out to their parents, and I had a friend live with me for 6 months.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And that was that made you grateful.
It does.
For the environment that you were with. But here we are on this podcast.
We're providing this environment for you.
If you are going through something crazy, we are hoping to provide a safe space where you are heard and validated.
Where your besties come and hang out with us and listen.
Yeah. We can be that voice in the background that comforts you because we've been through it.
Yeah.
And maybe not on the same level, but we know what it's like to, there's one thing about you come out to your parents, and that's probably the biggest step that you have. But the misconception is you end up coming out for the rest of your life.
So many times.
You start a new job, you come out to your boss, or you come out to your workmates. You go to a party.
Oh, you and your husband, you and your boyfriend. No, sorry, it's my girlfriend or my wife or my partner.
You go to an appointment with your doctor and it's, are you having sex? And it's like, oh yeah, but I'm gay. You continuously come out so many times in your life.
You do.
It's never just one and done. Never just one and done. It's important to have these conversations and really recognize that you are who you are.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And that's absolutely fine.
That's awesome. I think we've covered us coming out.
Yeah.
How we got here.
How we got here.
How
we met each other.
How
we're on like this podcast is our baby.
This podcast is our baby.
And we'll see if we mother it right.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully people like our child.
And we have thousands more children hanging out with us.
That's weird. Now you're getting weird.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I think, does this cap us off for like first episode? Just a little like get to know us session?
Yeah, I think so. Unless you have anything fun installed for us.
No, I don't. No. But we hope that you've enjoyed this first get to know us episode, and we're hoping to provide so many more episodes in the future. Like, this is going to be a long running thing. Hopefully you guys like what you hear from us, and we will continue to bang out some episodes.
Yeah, it'll be super ongoing.
And definitely let us know if you want us to talk about a certain subject.
Yeah, if you have any questions or anything.
If you want our opinion on certain things.
If you want us to review specific gay shows or music.
Gay shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know. Hit us up. And yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We can talk about it all together.
Yeah.
It'll be like we're all traveling in the car, having one big convo.
Love it.
Love it. Okay, guys. Well,
thanks for listening.
And we hope that you join us again.
Yeah. See you soon.
Stay gay, motherfuckers.
I'm talking about, you're talking about, we're talking about just gay stuff.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all your socials, and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.